Today we're discussing the intake manifold on the 2005 Ford Focus. This is a 2-litre Duratec HE built in South Africa. Okay, now previously in other videos I think I've mentioned what I think of Ford Focuses. Hi Alex. What do you think of the Ford Focus design? Okay. Now, injector O-rings not available without the injectors, which you could definitely match them up with something. These are $27 something each in Australia. It said on the bag, majority of components made in the USA. The blue one costs more. The EGR gasket's $87. The manifold's $2,300 plus GST, and I think it's normally a bit more. Where that orange thing is in the center of the screen, that's the PCV breather hose, and that's one leak there. Right, that's to get it off. You could see this hose requires replacement. The placement of the hose is terrible. The starter motor has to come out to let the manifold out. And this has to come out in tango with the manifold, or to get the fans out, you've got to drop the radiator down. So, yeah, I'll just save myself pulling the radiator out, I guess. But that would be part of the job. There's no access, really. The wiring harness is clipped on everywhere, and in the worst possible way. I understand it's cheap for them to do that and fast, but like, you could hang a person upside down on 2 of these clips, I assure you that, right? Everywhere. Okay. Back to this. Now, the variable tumble control flaps, or as I call them, the variable carbon catchers, sit inside this 2-piece sort of design. See that? Now, I'm showing you here how I tested the vehicle, but I tested it with this on. Now, when he came in for diagnosis, I had put Teflon thread tape on that, and the leak seemed to have stopped. And then I drove it and the leak moved, and now I understand what's going on. There's 2 of them, the green in the middle, and then there you go, the other one. Now, you've got a breather hose leak, you've got a VIX vacuum leak, or variable tract leak, right? And I'm going to show you now how I tested it, but the difference is I tested it with this on the vehicle, right? It was the other one that goes there. So it was actually this side that I tested, but I'm going to show you how I tested it. Basically doing this. Great, I've made 4 takes of this video, and there was always bubbles, and now there's not. So let's get bubbles. Now, this has an O-ring sitting there, so it's not that it's going to leak, but the simple fact is you've got to understand. I did this putty fridge water hose test with this installed, okay, on the other one, and it blew bubbles out, which means the green seal's bypassing. Okay, now there's a plug here on the other side, which is not meant to be tampered with. I don't know what's behind it, but I've had enough. I'm looking for another manifold. I don't want to get a new one. Also, just a note, in case someone bitches on the comments, you do not hang things over the engine with holes open like that, okay? Because things like this fall out and go into there and blow the whole engine up. This is purely for the video only, and I'm a professional. I do not recommend doing this job. You will require a manifold unless you want to epoxy these two shut in a position where the engine has full intake supply. Okay. Please note as well, on reinstallation, there will be an alignment of these. If you tamper with these valves, you'll have to get it right. Okay, so I'm not going into that. I'm not going into how to pull it out. I simply don't have the time to go into it. But you've got that, right? Then you've got here my STI, sexually transmitted infection. Funny enough, ironically, I use the same blue hose on. But where's the breather hose here? There, right? Okay. Where's the breather hose on this Hilux with 300,000 Ks? There. Okay, on the Lexus, on top. Valves, metal. Rubber that doesn't fail. Right? On a Ford Focus, it's back here. So primarily that's going to be the leak. This would be a rarer failure, but yet it's not that rare. I've spoken to Ford about the manifolds. They're available. They're very expensive, well over 2,300 plus GST, and with the O-rings and all that, it just piles up. Now, that's the design of the manifold. I unfortunately can't go into how to remove the manifold. It's all there. It's more about access to the manifold. Okay? And the problem is with jobs like this, I mean, the longer it goes on for, you know what it's like. I don't know if any mechanics are watching, but on and off, that's great. And then a week or two later, you know, you come back and you're like, okay, so you don't want to be doing this. Right now, I'm looking at it going, oh, fuck. Those are for the injectors, I remember that. But that's the starter motor. And they're the manifold bolts, right? But then you get different lengths. Okay, so get a piece of paper, you know, or use the whole clockwise sort of thing. I've shown in other videos. You know, like get a piece of paper and sort of, you know, write down. Don't be afraid to write down what you're doing. Because, for example, on a Volkswagen, on the starter motor, which is there, if you mix the bolts up, you put it through a water oil distribution box, and it's a catastrophe. So, yeah, don't look at this. That's fine. I'm going to sort it all out. But, yeah, look at that. Disconnect the battery, obviously. But this car's gone for another manifold now, and I'm searching for one used, as the prices are horrific in the US. It's probably quite affordable, maybe more so. But that's the job. It's a pitfall. What I did with that putty, just having the sense to just go, hang on a second. I've started here and remembering, not... That's the thing with cars. You'll do something and, oh, the breather hose is torn, and, oh, no, that was my imagination. No, it wasn't. Because when I did this the first time with this putty, the hiss went like that. And then it went somewhere else. And then the bloke drove it and it went, and obviously this other one had given way as well. So I've now saved myself doing the job twice by simply just getting the stuff around me. And in a matter of seconds, this was much more malleable before. You want to heat it up. It's a little bit cool this morning. But, you know, that's now useless, right? So, yeah, stuff like that can save you grief. But when you see the bubbles coming out here, I have said this is a two-piece design. There are O-rings there. So it's designed to bypass, for some, God knows what reason they've done this. But it's designed that way. What I'm saying is, when the VIX diaphragm actuator, the tumble control actuator was on, I had air bubbles coming out. Now, what that means is it was bypassing this. All the screws were on. So he's got multiple vacuum leaks there. Now, in saying that, the strength of his hissing sort of got stronger. Now, a valve like this with a seal in place like that can't really go like that. You've got to use your common sense. This car wants to fuck my life. So I know what's going to happen. I'm going to put it back together and it's going to just go, and he probably wouldn't even know it. Hi, Alex. But it's not the way, is it? Now, had this car had an airflow meter, it wouldn't have ever even gotten to this stage. It would have been fixed weeks ago, because it uses the map sensor design, which really, I think, is a better design than an airflow meter. Subarus use both, but being a map sensor, you can get away with a vacuum leak for quite some time, and sometimes forever if it doesn't,